It is going to Killing City, Christmas spectacular. We thought we'd up our game this month. I, of course, am Jamie Green. I am sitting in the Green Room, my home bar here in Prairie Village. I almost said it right. Haven't even started drinking yet. And my evil twin. Tell them about your home bar that we get to see in the background.
Hey, I'm Alex Greenwood, and you are at the Green Shebeen bar, which a shebeen, if you don't know, is an Irish word for basically a speakeasy. So, and he's Jamie Green. I'm Alex Greenwood. And by the way, we didn't like independent. We didn't like collude on this. It was all independent. I just said, "What's your place called?" He goes, "The Green Room," and I'm like, "Oh, because you're a performer. That's great." And mine's the Green Shebeen. I have a little Irish ancestry. Who doesn't these days? And it's like my little hideaway. So here I am.
Oh,
And I used to do. It's funny, dude. I used to do a show from here during COVID called Tuesdays with Tiki Ted, and I was Trader Al, your bartender, and I would just do. It was just drink recipes on Tuesday nights and kind of low corny comedy, the whole thing. So I was setting up here for this, and I was like, that takes me back, I might bring that show back here every now and again. I threaten to do that every now and again, and then after I realize how much work it was to get it set up and all the dishes to wash afterward, I just don't do it. But
I get it. I get it.
yeah, so it's the end of the year, my friend.
It's hard to believe, and we are both decorated. If my camera turned around, which it doesn't, because this is my laptop, I could show you. I got the Christmas tree with the David Lee Roth jumping off.
Is he jumping off?
Yeah, that's the tree topper.
I love that. I love that.
I got all my stuff. All my albums are down here, and it's my like you said, it's my happy space. You find me down here a lot. This is where I hide from the world. So.
It's funny too, it's not one of those situations where it's actually all mine, but I just tend to spread out in here, and I'm down here probably more than my wife, and definitely more than my kid. And I have a little Christmas tree over there, and there's a lot here. And my camera's on a gimbal, and maybe later I can just kind of turn it and show something real quick. But it's not a lot to see. It's just a lot of kitsch. Mine's kind of where you're you're definitely got a performance musician vibe. I've got I'm me, which is just an eclectic collection of weird crap that's vaguely tiki-ish. I am kind of a tiki aficionado, although the irony though is it's usually old dudes like me who really love that, and we're the ones who are in danger of diabetes. And the diabetes. And I'm telling you, dude, every one of those tiki drinks is just an invitation to Wilford Brimley.
Absolutely. So if people are, I know we're up on your Green Shebeen page, which is cool that you're doing that. So if you're first joining us, this is a historic Kansas City true crime murder podcast, and we focus on weird, strange, wacky, crazy stories. We don't do just normal. We don't talk about kids because that's gross, and we won't do that. I have people every once in a while like, you should do that one. I'm like, nope, there's a kid involved. Not going to do it. And then what we do, we give each other a hint every month. And then the person who's not telling the story pairs it with a killer cocktail. So I gave Alex the hint of, Christmas Spree. And Alex, I started on straight because I can't multitask. So I've had a little sip of this, but tell the folks at home what you made.
Well, yeah, it's a spree killer cocktail, isn't it? So I thought of that, and well, of course, it's a no-brainer. It's Christmas, so really, it was wide open. I didn't get real arcane. I found something that I think a lot of our listeners are going to enjoy. It's a very festive holiday drink that is a Christmas take on something that's called a Dirty Shirley. Do you know what a Dirty Shirley is?
I've heard of it. I have never ordered it, but I've heard people order it. So.
It's basically what we're going to make tonight, but this has lime juice. But a Dirty Shirley was a Shirley Temple that had booze in it, essentially. And this drink, and I'm going to tell you what's the ingredients are. We're going to make it, and you'll see why you're going to be like, why lime juice? You're going to see when you see just how sweet this drink is. So here's the name. This is a drink called Santa's Hat. So keep it under your hat is what I'm going to say about that. So let's gather our ingredients. First thing, you're going to need a tablespoon of your basic store-bought vanilla or white chocolate frosting.
Or if you have my wife, she makes it from scratch because she's awesome. But go ahead. Sorry, she does. I'm sorry.
You're going to need coconut. Kelly's awesome. Anyway, you're going to need sweetened coconut flakes. You're going to need lemon lime soda. 7-Up will do. If you've got something more lemony, more limey, have at it. You're going to need some fresh lime juice. Now, it's not fresh squeeze, but this will do. You're also going to need 2 ounces of vodka. And you know what? Stoli will right out of the freezer. And you're going to need an ounce of grenadine, the
Yep.
red stuff. And we'll get to the garnish when we're done. So all you got to do with this stuff, it's really simple. You take your glass and you put the frosting which around the glass, and then you turn it over on a plate that has all the coconut shavings. And then look what you got. You got this kind of festive looking holiday. That looks like the fringe on Santa's cap, doesn't it?
That's very nice.
Okay, so then what you do, real simple, 2 ounces of the you'll see I'm putting stuff in here. I don't have to hold it up here for 2 ounces of the lemon juice. And then you're going to do, and to taste, at least 2 ounces of vodka. And then you're going to put your 7-Up or your lemon lime soda in there. You'll top it with that. Okay, just a little there. And then you're going to take your grenadine, and this is always fun. Grenadine is such fun to do. So you're going to take your grenadine. Okay, look at that pretty color.
It's lovely.
Now that looks like a tequila sunrise, doesn't it? But here's the fun part of this one. You're going to take a peppermint stick, stir it all together.
Yep.
And it can be this looks kind of pink. It doesn't look red. I want it to look like Santa's cap, so I'm adding more grenadine. And friends, look at yours. That's beautiful. That's in a coupe glass. This is in a martini glass.
You'll have to
your drink's over in Martini's place. It's Martini's
Martini. Look at me. Get me. I'm handing
Get me. I'm going, hey, little fella.
We don't need two wise guys. Trying to give the joint atmosphere. Yeah, it's great. It's lovely. If you like sweet, this is for you, people.
But if you use it, that's why it is sweet. Excuse me. But the lime juice will cut that sweetness.
It does. It's not overwhelming. I think part of it is because the first thing when it touches your lips is going to be the frosting.
Right.
Right.
It's so good when it touches your lips. Frank the Tank, old school. Anyway, you remember that?
I do.
Will Ferrell.
I laughed.
So it's like a Dirty Shirley, but these garnishes are fun. The lime juice makes it not to be too sweet. So if you want to just embody that Christmas mood, put on your ugliest sweater, like the one your mom gave you. Pour yourself a glass of this deliciousness, and actually, I think what you should do, in keeping with what we're doing tonight, go on a spree of these.
Yeah,
just line them up, spree them.
That's what Uber's for.
That's right. That's our killer cocktail here from the Green Shebeen. Thank you,
Alex. You've made me do so many drinks that I would never have done on my own, and I mean this in all sincerity. It's been great. I've learned a lot, so thank you. And these are yummy. I have a feeling that we have your huge Christmas Eve party. I have a feeling that people are going to tell me now I have to make these.
Yeah, I think you should. You'll be a hit of the night.
Yep.
And you could, what you could do, Jamie, you could just listeners, viewers, you could batch this out too. You could make a batch of this. I wouldn't go crazy and make like more than, enough for about 5 or 6 people, but you could shake them up and batch them and have them ready. And then you just line up your coconut, line up your frosting, and then just do them. And there you go. Or let your guests do their own, which, by the way, I'm always in favor of that,
Absolutely.
But man,
go ahead. That's lovely. Always, if you're listening to this on the 15th, you're not doing it live. We always put in the show notes and also on the website, killingcitypod.com.
And that's a great point. And one thing we don't have this month, by the way, also, we gave our sponsors the month off.
Yep.
And you may know we've had West Bottoms Whiskey Company. We've had Jay Rieger. I'll just say this. We've had talks with some other folks. But everybody in the holidays goes nuts and goes crazy. And just getting contracts signed is nuts. And just getting an agreement that's proper is a lot. So I guess we're really not sponsored by anybody. But, it's vodka. Come on, I use Stoli on this. But where do you stand on the vodka question, Jamie? Is there really a difference?
I can't tell because hardly ever drink vodka.
Hmm.
I just it's just not, you know me, I'm a Scotch guy. So
You are.
it's a rarity that I have it. So I don't care. I do put it in the freezer. I did learn that from people because I think it makes it better. I don't know why. It seems smoother, right? Why do we do
Hmm.
that? Okay.
Right.
But
But
no.
it's well, it's how many times is it distilled? How many times does it run through the filtering? I had a distillery owner tell me, he said, "Well, gin is just vodka with better distillation and juniper berry essence, more or less, depending what they do." Now, of course, it could be a rye vodka, it could be a wheat vodka, it could be a potato vodka. Anyway, we're not doing. I'm sorry, I'm not Trader Al. We're not doing two days with Tiki Ted. I'm not here to give you a history of vodka, but I'm just thinking though, is that vodka though? Just last tip here from your amateur bar guy. Vodka is it's your kind of your go-to when you have a party. That's what reminded me of this because there's so many things you can do with vodka at a party. And it right, you and Kelly do this wonderful party and you get people varying tastes. They show up, they don't know what they want.
Yep.
You can do so much. I mean, you know what you do? Cranberry juice and vodka, basically, you've made a Cosmo. You
Yep.
know, you can make all kinds of poor man's drinks out of with vodka. So anyway, just a little tip for you. Go check that out and go to your favorite local liquor store and they'll fix you up.
Absolutely. And real quick before we delve in, I'm a big fan of supporting local. And
Hmm.
whether it is Alex's great mystery books that he's written, I'm sure he'd be happy to sell you some of those.
They
Uh,
could I just mention since you brought it up, you December 8th right now. If you're watching live, this goes out on the 15th. If you get a hold of me, if you're local, I'll sell them to you all the way up until Christmas Eve and get them to you, and they're autographed and they're all on sale. And go to jalexandergreenwood.com. Thank you, my friend.
you can always hire my band too, which is,
I've done
Flatwater.
that once.
You did. We had a great time. Flatwaterkc.com. But hey, a couple shots. So my friend Jason Roski, who has the company KC Auction Company, if you want to buy some really cool auction stuff, he has a really cool space. It's right down east of downtown. His kids and my kids went to St. Elizabeth's School a million years ago in Waldo. Good guy. That's just kcauctioncompany.com. We will put this in the show notes for people who listen to it on the 15th. My really good buddy Becky Fankhauser. Becky's had a really hard year. She lost her mom this year. She is
Mm,
quite possibly one of the nicest people on the planet I've ever met. Uh, your flask that I got you last year, Alex, the KC flask, came from Becky. She has tons of cool T-shirts and stuff like that. That is garagedoorapparel.com or
great stuff.
garagedoorapparelco.com. And lastly, Melinda, who was on my podcast when I did my music podcast, she has 45 Grados flamenco classes. So she actually was over in Europe and was a flamenco dancer over there. And if you want to learn how to dance the flamenco here in the States, she does those classes. She does performances and she does tours every year of Seville, Spain. And that is at 45gradosflamenco.com. Don't buy something from Amazon this year. Help people out locally. It's better stuff too. I think it'd be it. So, all right. So we're going to delve in. So again, the hint was, Christmas Spree. And, we've been doing this for a year and a half, and we've had crimes of passion, crimes for money, political assassinations, and
Hmm.
one serial killer that Alex brought us. But we've yet to discuss a spree killer. And if you don't know what a spree killer is, a spree killer is defined as a violent act that involves two or more victims at two or more locations occurring in a single event without a cooling off period. One of the most commonly known spree killers is Charlie Starkweather, who terrorized my hometown of Lincoln, Nebraska in the late 50s and later the entire state. But what if I was to tell you that the Starkweather homicides are tame in comparison to our subject today? Because I had certainly never heard of this case, and I'm guessing none of our listeners have either. But this case, which includes two separate spree killings, multiple prison escapes, and it's a real jaw dropper. When it's all said and done, this murderer would kill a total of 7 people. 3 of
Oh,
those were police officers. He,
yikes!
he also injured 19 others in gunfire. So our story starts back on September 5th, 1919, when an audacious daylight robbery of a gambling den goes horribly wrong. Yes, 1919. If you look this murderer up on Wikipedia or Murderpedia or various other websites, they all list the holdup as 1920, but that's wrong. It's always important
Oh,
to look at original sources, in this case, the various newspapers in the Kansas City metro area who covered this story. Why is this important? Because an important nugget to this story is totally missed if you get the timeline wrong. We'll get into that in a minute, but let's go back to that holdup, Alex. So Truesdale's gambling den was located at 1209 Grand Boulevard. All right, Alex, what do you think it's at 1209 Grand Boulevard today? What would Kansas City do to a cool building?
Well, it's probably a brewery now or a distillery or something.
It's a surface parking lot.
Oh, well, that's what they should have done with it.
They
It's a
should. That's a good
parking
one.
lot.
It's what we do. We knock down cool buildings and put parking lots. All right. So the ringleader of this gang of thieves was a man named Eddie Adams. Adams was born on a farm in Hutchinson, Kansas in 1887. He was originally named W.J. Walsh, but his birth father died when he was quite young. His mother quickly remarried, and he was soon renamed after his stepfather. This stepfather apparently was
Yeah.
cruel, and Eddie soon began to hate him and all forms of authority. Dun, dun, dun. All right. As soon as he became an adult, Eddie became a barber and moved to Wichita to work. He met a man named John Callahan, and they quickly became running buddies. This is at the beginning of the Prohibition era in America, and Adams and Callahan became bootleggers as well as petty thieves. They also enjoyed stealing cars.
No.
According to reports, Adams was very charismatic and attracted his own gang of hoodlums. This report also said that he attracted quote unquote loose ladies, whatever that means. All right. So after a bank robbery in rural Kansas, Adams and his gang soon came here to Kansas City, where they partnered up with Ray and Walter Majors, two known outlaws. They got the grand idea to rob that gambling den on Grand, and an innocent bystander paid for it with his life. Frank Gardner was trying to hide behind a radiator during the robbery, but a bullet fired by Adams hit him, and he later died in the hospital. I know, it sucks. Newspaper accounts would show the holdup turned into a terrifying shootout. According to the Kansas City Star, on Sunday, September 21st, 1919, numerous individuals opened fire during the robbery, including Eddie Adams, the Majors brothers, and just a random gambler at Truesdale's named Richard Way. Later that same day, a second shootout would take place between the Majors brothers, Adams, and two police officers named John Ford and George Burns. Yeah.
One made movies, one had really corny jokes.
Right?
Sorry.
Totally. Adams and Ray Majors were so injured in that second gun battle that they were hospitalized, but Walter Majors escaped. He managed to avoid arrest until September 20th when he was captured in St. Louis. That arrest was made by John Hannigan, the chief of detectives of the St. Louis Police Department, 10 other St. Louis police detectives, and you're going to like this, Greenwood, the Pinkertons. So we're Deadwood nerds, so we love that time.
We're huge Deadwood nerds, and it wouldn't really be crime at the turn of that century without the Pinkertons being mentioned near that turn of that century.
Yeah, no. I have Al Swearingen's voice in my head right now. Anyway, and another fun through line, Walter Majors apparently stayed at the Hotel Savoy before absconding to St. Louis. Boom.
That's a callback.
There you go. The murder trials of the Major brothers and Eddie Adams was held in January 1920, not 1921. Again, get the timeline right, people. Now, Alex, how did KCPD manage to be able to almost instantly show up to confront the Major brothers and the Adams at home just a few hours later? Like they were on them almost instantly. How could that be?
I don't know.
According to court testimony, because Truesdale was under protection of the Kansas City Police Department Vice Division. Yes, that's right. Crooked cops. Yet another through line of this podcast. All right. You're going to love this, Greenwood. This is, we got you written all over. Here's an even funner through line. Guess who Eddie Adams and the Major brothers defense attorney was?
Is it that dude who was in...
You're thinking of the senator. James A. Reed. That's what you're thinking.
Yes. It wasn't...
It's not. But even crazier, Jesse James Jr.
Stop. Really?
Yes. Jesse James, the only son of the outlaw Jesse James Sr., decided to defend criminals, not become one himself. So he was their attorney.
Check out the episode Riding with the Devil, by the way. Well, that's right. You can find it all at killingcitypod.com. This is so interesting. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. So, all right. So on January 22nd, 1920, Eddie Adams was convicted of the murder of Frank Gardner and sentenced to life in prison at the Missouri State Penitentiary. The Major brothers were also convicted of murder, but they took a plea bargain and were sentenced to only 5 years in prison for robbery. But
Hmm.
that plea deal didn't really work out too well for him. Walter died of spinal meningitis in prison, so he didn't even make it out.
Oof.
Ray Majors would end back up in prison after his release from the Missouri penal system when warrants were sworn out for other crimes he had committed in Kansas. He then gets paroled again in 1926, but he could just never give up robbing. Apparently, he was shot to death during an attempted robbery in Oklahoma in 1932.
Ooh,
So Eddie
Dust
Adams,
Bowl.
right? Eddie Adams didn't want to spend any time in prison. So this is the first craze. So during the transport to the prison in Jefferson City on Wednesday, March 4th, 1920, Adams somehow managed to get free by jumping off the moving Missouri Pacific train between Tipton and Clarksburg, Missouri. According to the Kansas City Times article at the time, Adams leapt from the train through a coach window. He had been handcuffed to another person who sat next to him, and they also were attached by their leg irons.
Oh.
But somehow he managed to saw through both the handcuffs and the leg irons. According to the Kansas City Times article, Adams somehow managed to get his hands on a small diamond saw, which makes me think that, of course, there's crooked people also guarding prisoners, right?
Hmm.
Crazily, he was not hurt when he leapt out of the train head first from the train was moving at 35 miles per hour. All right.
Sure.
Which that's insane. He should have died right then. All right.
Yeah.
A posse was created to look for Adams, but all they found was two witnesses' sightings. First, at a farmhouse 10 miles southeast of Tipton around midnight, and he asked a farmer for a drink of water. And then 3 hours later, he had appeared at a different farmhouse 5 miles further southeast, where he got something to eat and was seen boarding an eastbound Rock Island freight train. A reward of several $100s, which is a lot of money, like you said, depression and all that, was offered for Adams. He seemed to disappear into thin air, but he would return in a most violent fashion. All right. So this is why you can't rely upon Wikipedia or Murderpedia or other websites. According to their timeline, Adams both escaped in 1921 and robbed a new bank in 1921, but that's totally wrong. Wikipedia states, quote, Adams escaped custody by jumping off the train just several days after he joined Julius Finney in a robbery of a bank. But he didn't jump off that train in February 1921. He jumped off on March 20th, 1920, which means Eddie Adams managed to avoid arrest and detection for almost a year. That's much more interesting to me. So, okay, this is hilarious. According to a Kansas City Times article on February 25th, 1920, Adams brazenly just came back here to Kansas City right after escape. Even more amazingly, he checked into the hotel under his real name. So I don't know what the posse was doing.
Sorry.
But they weren't looking much. So
It's so typical.
I'm going to keep reading it. It looks like we have two chats if you want to see what people are saying.
Oh, let me go check out those chats while you're.
Let me read the next paragraph and then we'll get back to it. All right. According to various witnesses, Adams was living at the Hudson Hotel at 1107 East 12th Street. Even more jaw dropping, he continued to rob banks. Why not? The same Kansas City Times article quoted a sworn statement by Iona Kelly, who was married to a Paul Kelly. Where did they rob a bank, you ask? My hometown, Lincoln, Nebraska. Incredibly, Eddie Adams would escape again. A shootout took place at Bean Lake, Missouri. Now, I had never heard of Bean Lake, Missouri. I thought this was fake, but it's real. It's just north of Weston. Adams escaped, but Paul Kelly was shot and captured. He spent the next 20 years in the Nebraska penitentiary. Not only did Adams escape, but he escaped with all the money, $3,000, which is nothing to sneeze at back then. But he wasn't done yet. So, anybody, what are people saying in the chat there?
Well, there's a bit of a lag, but Alicia says I'm a people pleaser. I don't care much for vodka either. So she's talking to you about. And then the lovely Pamela. Oh, this is probably my Pamela. Maybe not. Hello from Cali. This could very well be my Pamela. Pam Sankey, who is a award-winning vocalist, played many local bands, and she's
Cool.
She's a sweetheart. Hello, Pam, if you're still there. Alicia, thank you. All right, I'll keep a better eye on this. This is all new to us, using the whole new technology, by the way.
Right.
This is kind of fun, by the way. And hey, knock on green wood, it hasn't crashed yet. Oh, oops.
All right.
So Go ahead.
On the next of our opus, Adams joins forces with a bank robber named Julius Finney. They would soon rob the bank and general store of Colson, Kansas. I'm guessing in Colson, Kansas, which is Dinky. That's probably one and the same. I had to look up where Colson. I never heard of Colson. It's 88 miles west of Wichita. The reappearance of Adams in another brazen robbery led to yet another posse being formed. This time, the posse got its man. According to that same Kansas City Times article I talked about, Adams and Finney were captured by means of an improvised barrier erected by a posse of citizens. The car crashed, and they were apprehended. Adams was now tried and convicted of bank robbery and sentenced to 30 years in prison in Lansing, the Lansing prison in Kansas. Careful listeners of this podcast will remember Lansing prison as being the site of the prison escape decades later when Toby Young hid John Maynard in the dog crate.
In the dog crate, ladies and gentlemen. Woof.
Right? All right, so back to Adams. Surely, after multiple murders and an escape, Kansas officials would keep a close eye on him, right? No. The
No,
Pittsburgh
no.
Sun newspaper, Pittsburgh, Kansas, it's not Pennsylvania. Called
Is
this
that the one with that's the gorillas?
right? They called this escape, quote, one of the most sensational in the history of the penal institution. That's how it was described. On the night of August 13th, 1921, Adams, along with fellow prisoners D.C. Brown, Frank Foster, and George Weisberger, cut the power off the engine room at the Lansing prison, putting the entire facility in pitch black darkness. Adams had secretly made a ladder out of wood ahead of time, cut the power, placed the ladder up against the prison wall, went over the wall, escaped into the night. So
The daring evening escape.
second prison escape by this guy. Even though he'd held up countless banks and managed to escape not once but twice,
Yikes.
he couldn't stop, man. He's going to keep robbing. He became even more violent. During a bank robbery in Hayesville, Kansas, Adams pistol whipped an 82-year-old man named James Crivel.
Oh,
Crivel would die of a skull fracture.
well, of course.
Police thought that Adams and his gang had been captured on October 8, 1921 in Annaley, Kansas, another town I'd never heard of, but they were outgunned. Apparently, Adams and his crew got like the best weapons. In that firefight, Deputy Benjamin Foster was wounded. Just 11 days later, the Adams gang would show up at Osceola, Iowa.
Osceola. Or some say Osceola, but yeah. You say
I'm from
tomato,
Nebraska,
I say Osceola.
I don't care
well, there you
Iowa.
go. Right.
Anyway, they would rob the bank there of $500 worth of silver. Again, the Adams gang was pursued by law enforcement. Another gun battle would erupt in Murray, Iowa. Iowa Sheriff Ed West and other members of law enforcement felt that they had the Adams gang trapped, but they were outgunned. Several members of law enforcement God, you can tell I've been drinking. Several
this
members.
This drink is a little more potent than
and my journalism professor is weeping somewhere. Were injured in that gunfire, and a local farmer that they only referred to as Mr. Jones was killed. So these guys are Mr. Jones and me.
You sing that song, don't you?
We do. It's got a lot of lyrics.
Yeah.
They're not these guys. So you talk about a spree. Like these guys are like they're going all the time. They're not stopping. You think how much money they've got, but they don't care. So,
but can I, as an aside, real quick, when you hear spree, I always think spree killer. They're not spree. They did kill people, but the motive was weapons, or excuse me, was money, not just the bloodlust of killing. Right? It's not like a Zodiac, like a spree killer. You know what I'm saying? Or am I wrong?
No, that's why I just said Christmas spree. I did not say spree killer. I said Christmas spree. It's a spree.
I know, but I mean, dude, but true crime people, they hear spree. What are they going to do? They're not talking about those sweet and sour candies we had back in junior high.
Alex, I believe we both said when we started this podcast that we are not experts in the field, that we are just two drunks at a bar telling a good tale. So you know what I think.
And everybody's making fun of us for drinking these sweet drinks. Yeah.
Only for you, brother. All right. So then they show up to rob 11 stores in Muscata, Kansas. Never heard of it either. Then they head back to his stomping grounds of Wichita. They get even more brazen. They abduct 2 police motorcycle officers outside of Wichita and set their motorcycles on fire before disappearing. Like they're nuts. All right.
What was the one where they abducted that I did? Where they abducted the sheriff? Yeah, Pretty Boy Floyd, right? And they abducted the sheriff.
Yep.
What the brazenness here?
Yeah, it's nuts. It's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So then he gets more cruel. On Saturday, November 5th, 1921. Wichita patrolman A.L. Young was murdered in cold blood at 8:45 p.m. with multiple gunshots. At the time, it was not known who had murdered him, but later speculation would be that Eddie Adams had pulled the trigger. In a Friday, November 25th, 1921, Wichita Beacon article, his brother named George was quoted. George stated, "I would not be surprised if it was Adams. I'm reasonably sure that Al knew Adams. It would be natural for him to try to arrest him, and most natural for Adams to kill him outright."
Oh, geez.
That mystery would be answered the next year in 1922. Remember Frank Foster, one of the fellow escapees from Lansing? one of the clowns that went over the roof, right?
Yep. Got it.
Uh, he would be captured later. And in February 1922, he testified that it was indeed Adams who had murdered Officer Young. And the reason? Apparently, Adams and Young were, quote unquote, courting the same woman. In February 14, 1922, Wichita Eagle article, Foster stated that Adams and Young had laid in wait for Officer Young. They knew where he lived.
Oh,
Adams
geez.
confronted Young, drew his pistol, and fired. But in less than 3 weeks, Adams would be dead too.
Oh,
It
wow.
finally unravels for this gang and just spree, whether it's killing or robbing or whatever. They're just nuts. They're just on this thing.
Yeah.
On the evening of November 20th, Eddie Adams and Foster were joyriding around Wichita. Also in the
Yeah.
car was a local madam named Nellie Miles, a bootlegger named George McFarland. Also in that car were 2 unnamed prostitutes, as you do. A second car also had members of the Adams gang, and the second car was Billy Feinelman and his wife. Bring the wife
Yeah.
along for the crime.
Why
George
not?
Weisberger and Petey Orcutt, plus 2 additional unnamed females. Sorry, ladies. 1920s wasn't really great about training people. Well, anyway, they were racing at high speeds around Wichita, and they were pulled over by 2 motorcycle cops as the patrolman approached Adams's car. Gunshots erupted. They killed patrolman Robert Fitzpatrick and
Oh,
sped away.
geez.
They looked terrible. They ran out of gas and tried to steal a car from a farmer named George Oldham, who resisted. Adams shot and killed Oldham and sped away in the dead farmer's car. The next day, they were back in Wichita and decided to visit George McFarland at his house, but George wasn't there, but police officers were. Again, gunfire erupts. Officer Ray Kastner is hit by gunfire, but he survives. Again, Adams escapes. Just a couple days later, on November 3rd, 1921, Adams tries to rent a car, which I didn't even know you could rent a car in 1921. This was news to me. Did you know this?
I mean, we all know about Hertz Rent-A-Buggy, but I don't remember cars.
No, 1921.
But you know what? They had Avis. They tried harder on your buckboard.
Right? Totally.
Look, they can't all be gold here. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. By the way, while we have a break in the action, Pam says from Cali said they should have fled to Abilene.
Abilene.
Good one. She can sing that very well, by the way. You and Pamela would be great together, by the way.
Pam, give me a call. I'll play guitar. All right. So he goes to rent that car, but the rental car guy actually recognizes him because it's all over the newspapers. They have pictures of him. They have their mug shots. They have multiple pictures. So he kind of like in Planes, Trains, and Automobile, he just like wastes this guy's time, but he secretly calls the police in the back and says, this guy's here. So while Adams is still filling out the paperwork, which I assume is pretty onerous before computers, Detective Charles Hoffman and 2 other officers enter that rental car company through the back door. Adams sees them. Detective Hoffman lunges at Adams, but Adam gets the gun and gets to his gun, and he murders Hoffman.
Oh, geez.
I know, he's terrible. He also manages to shoot Officer Charles Bowman, but Bowman survives finally, and I do mean finally. Adams's luck runs out. The 3rd officer, a guy named D.C. Stuckey, terrible name, poor guy.
Mississippi Burning, Stuckey.
Right? He'd been hiding behind a pillar. Smart. Good for you. And he just took his time because, Adams was killing these other people. Takes careful aim, shoots Adams dead. The reign of terror. What's that?
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
You're fine. Go ahead. What were you
I was just going to say, so he shot him?
Yep, shot him dead.
Do you know how or where or where he shot him?
In the chest.
So would you say that was pretty grisly, Adams? I'm sorry.
Okay. In the chat, people let us know what you think of Alex's joke.
Sorry. Look, it's been 100 years. If we can't make fun of 100 years,
we have to have fun with it. I mean, all these people are long gone, and we always say that we make fun of the guy that commits the murder, so we'll make fun of Adams.
We have our critiques about certain aspects of law enforcement, but line of duty,
it's terrible.
We don't cross the line on that. Nothing but respect.
Any police or fire, any first responder should be able to go home to their family every night.
Absolutely.
So this reign of terror, which had hit parts of Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska, was finally over. It only lasted a little over 2 years, but it was pretty much incessant the whole time. Now, in a ghoulish epilogue, I guess because there's no TV and they live in Wichita, Eddie Adams' body is publicly displayed at the city undertaking parlor. More than 9,000 individuals showed up, went and looked at his dead body. Eddie Adams is only 34 years old, and they got to. He died the day before Thanksgiving of that year, so they got to enjoy Christmas without the spree, and that is this month's episode.
You know, you told me ahead of time, dude, this one's pretty out there. And you know what's out there about it the most is just the outright brutality of these people. It's as if they're like, we have zero, you know what's to give.
Yep.
We know this is not going to end well. To me, it reminds me of Bonnie and Clyde. They knew they were never going to get out of this alive. Cops hated their guts, and the cops that anyway, see the movie, read the book. But in Pretty Boy Floyd, same thing, charming as he was. This era fascinates me. And the fact that Kansas City and the surrounding area is a nexus, because you have the Dust Bowl and you have the Depression and you have these people. And this is the point I'm trying to get to, my friend, is these people were driven by desperation. And these are also people who said, you know what? People are literally starving to death. They're literally eating their shoes in the Depression if they can't, if they can't find anything else. And here these fat cats are still living high on the hog elsewhere. And I think they just said, you know what? I want the finest clothes I can get. I want to have a car. I want power. I want to have some agency and authority over my own life. That's my armchair psychoanalysis of this, but that seems over and over. And that they just didn't want to be sodbusters somewhere, But it's just that whole thing about if you don't know your history, you're condemned to repeat it. It's like you ignore regular just folks people at your peril, because they'll eventually have had enough, and then these types of people are bred from that situation. How's that?
I think a lot of it too, though, is that if you have a city where the police are corrupt, and not only were there gambling dens all over this town, I think we've talked about this before. You could go see a donkey show, which disgusting.
Oh my God, are you really saying that? This is a family program.
But that's all I said. And the West Bottoms.
Right.
There was, of course, the original Chesterfields, where we won't just Google that. But what I mean, the police were on the make. That's when we talked about, our friend Johnny Lazia, where he was picking on the police officer. I think if there is a culture in a society where laws don't matter anymore, where everybody's corrupt, everybody's on the take, whether it's the city manager McElroy, whether it's the police department, obviously Tom Pendergast, this is his time in his city at the beginning. It's once that you uncork that bottle, once that Pandora's box is open, it's really hard to close it again.
But do you also, and I 100% agree, but I also think too that there's a permission structure that is created where people have zero, again, just as I said, to give. And they're like, you know what? It's like the internet these days. Everybody can be as crappy to each other as they want. Your keyboard warriors, all that stuff. Right. But back then it went beyond kind of keyboard blood sport. It was just like, I don't know. I'm not being very articulate. I guess what I'm trying to say is just that I think that the economy, the economics of survival, certain people snapped in a way where they didn't snap and just fall apart. They snapped and they went on sprees.
And you got to talk about too. I mean, his childhood, his birth father dies. His stepfather apparently, beat the shit out of him all the time.
It's awful.
And I'm guessing, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but I'm guessing that had long-term ramifications about this guy's ability to actually have any kind of empathy for other people. I'm guessing.
Well, they say that sociopaths are not born, but they're made. Some people say that. Some disagree. But I happen to think they're made. And that's a lot of it. Abuse does that. Trauma, unresolved trauma can lead some people in that direction. The thing that fascinates me, and I'm gonna just tell you right now, this is my favorite era of talking about stuff.
Yeah,
and
this is a book. This is at least a book. This should be a book, and I was like shocked because I was like, some elements of this are crazier than Bonnie and Clyde.
Well, is this the book we're going to write together?
We should write a book about
because we're going to, it's the great Bill O'Reilly who created the Killing series. Remember the killing Lincoln, killing it's killing this, killing
Then he
that,
ran out of ideas. He's like, killing
killing a
Nebuchadnezzar.
BLT. I'm killing a BLT today at lunch. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll do it live.
Cut
But
off
the
his
point
mic.
of
Cut off his mic.
what we can do, we can do the Killing City Chronicles and do these books. I think we should think about that.
Oh my gosh, we have more comments, Alex. This is fun. Go ahead, read them.
Well, we got more comments. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. We came back and Pamela, Alicia came back with this one. All right. Friend of yours? Here's
It is a friend of mine.
And here's a friend of mine who said exactly. And I'm just going to say that's when I said something really funny. That's what that is. I've got to be. Pamela, Pam, thank you, Pam, my friend. I miss you. We miss you.
This would be a great book. This would be a great movie. God, you know what I'd like to see?
Yeah, I know, but you can't talk about it here.
No, but I want to see David Simon write this.
Ooh, well, wait a minute. We can write this. What are you saying? Oh, you mean like an actual, like a movie? Okay, fair enough.
I want David Simon to make this a TV. The guy, he did The Wire, he did Treme, he did a bunch of stuff. Yeah, he can do the. We'll make all the money on the book side, and then we'll sell the rights to him.
You know what? That's the whole thing. But you know who I'd really love to see do it, but he can't. God forbid. You know who I'm going to say? Milch,
but
right?
he can't.
He can't. He's unfortunately a shadow of his former self. But Deadwood creator. I read his last book. That book he wrote about writing. So good. And hard to get through because you just knew where he was. But anyway, yeah, there. Well, I say that because, and I know we're not quite there yet. But when I get to your clue, which first of all, don't fall out of your chair that I actually have the hint at my disposal. I did not forget to do your hint. Anyway, don't put me on the spot right this second. I remember what it was. But yeah, I have it. I thought
all
right.
Well, he's thinking about it. Again, our website is killingcitypod.com.
Right.
You can also email us at killingcitypod@gmail.com. We are up on Facebook. Alex is the purveyor. He's the person that runs our website. He does a great job. He'll put all the deets. I've got all these articles. I've got some really crazy pictures and stuff. So we will put that there too. So, but yeah, if you're ready, what's my hint?
All right. The hint is hearing aid.
Hearing aid.
Hearing aid.
What?
Oh, shoot. That's good. You got me.
We're both idiots.
Oh, we are. Hey, hearing aid is the clue. So that means, folks, if you're again new to the show, so next month, I will be in his chair doing the whole story, and he will come up with a killer cocktail based on that clue, hearing aid. We may have a new sponsor by then, or we may have a return of a couple of old favorite sponsors. We don't know, but it doesn't matter. That you don't have to buy our sponsors. I can say it this month, dude. We don't have a sponsor this month. You can buy whatever you want, folks.
Yeah.
But you know what I will tell you, when you go to Jay Rieger, you say, I heard it on Going to Killing City. Of course, waiter, waitress, whoever, they're gonna, I don't know what that is. But anyway, think that over. But hey, can we get an update for our fans about the Going to Killing City tour of Kansas City? We put that, we all know that was going to happen in October, and then life and other things happen. Do you think it's going to happen this spring?
I think we just need to make it downtown and make it a walking tour, because there's enough downtown that we can do it. The bus stuff is because we have to do a video for every one we cover.
Well, we could do it. It's just it's either and
I don't have time.
Well, I mean, maybe we could. You know what? We'll talk offline. Maybe we could pay somebody to put the videos together for us, and if it wasn't that much. But we'll talk. We'll talk. I might know somebody who knows somebody. That's what I'm trying to tell you, and that might make that happen. But just a walking tour of downtown.
There's a lot downtown,
dude.
Well, hey, you were supposed to stay at the Hotel Savoy in the creepy room, and you didn't do it. What happened?
Well, when was I supposed to do that?
I don't know. Take the
I thought it was
lovely,
for next
take,
Halloween. I thought it was for
take,
next Halloween.
take your lovely bride up there on New Year's Eve. I want to know. And by the way, people, we got
Yeah,
comments from, and I know Alex, it was one of your people, a book person, about so Hotel Savoy is, if you believe it, it's haunted. Um, and
one of
we
my
had,
people.
yeah, some book person said, "Oh yeah, we did book things there, and we saw some really, remember that, like crazy, weird things, like
That's right.
yeah,
And oh, I didn't do a local shout out, but to my friends at Afterward Tavern and Shelves High, where I frequently do book signings and as part of their Lit on Grand every October. Also, shout out, by the way, Christmas friends, Pete Doolin, the dean of Kansas City area brewery and distillery writing. He is coming back soon with a new book, and it's so exciting. Pete Doolin. And I believe it's PeteDoolin.com, Dulin. Just Googling Pete Doolin, Dulin. And if you can catch him and he's not too busy, he might be able to autograph some books to you. We did that one Christmas. We bought a bunch of his books about local breweries and distilleries and wine and all that stuff, and gave him out as autographed Christmas gifts. And by the way, as a writer, I can tell you, I got 10 books. It means a lot. It means a huge amount.
I'm
And
impressed you
by the
could do
way,
that.
we sell them for cheap. What's that, buddy?
Well, I wrote one, and I was like,
You
"There's a
did,
lot.
and
There's a lot of work."
but it is a lot of work. And you know what? Here's the thing about that book. That book talks about listeners talks about corruption at City Hall, basically. And
Yeah.
what I love about it is Jamie, is an insider. He worked at City Hall. He's worked all around City Hall. He continues to swim in those fetid waters
It's
in a
very
lot of
bad.
ways. And so the book, I remember I read it soon after I met you, and I was doing a lot more interaction at City Hall at that time of my career, and it was really kind of interesting. And I think that I've always told you I was like I think it's good. It could be a good series, and I know you're it's but you're such a well one you're an autodidact, and I don't take offense at that. It's not something we have to have dueling about it, flintlocks at sundown. But you're also one of those people who just has a lot of interests.
Yeah.
And I think writing was a bucket list thing for you,
Yeah. I just
which
wanted to see if I could do it.
yeah, yeah, and you did. It's a good story. But I think you should do more of that. You've got a good handle, and I really liked that character. But anyway,
He was a good
um,
character.
it was a good
He still
character, but it
lives in
was
my mind.
well, he's living rent free in mine as well. And just by the way, if anybody cares, I am working on a new novel myself. It's probably not going to be in the John Pilot mystery universe, but I assure you, it will at least attempt to entertain you.
All right, we're
So,
up to 13 comments, Greenland. What are you missing before we go? We're gonna be off at the top of the hour, so you won't miss the Chiefs. Don't worry about it.
all right, here we go. Here we go. Exactly. Okay, here we go.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, well, listen to this, Pam. Okay, and a walking tour. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, because so
With
this is off the top of my head. We could meet at either the Ambassador Hotel,
uh-huh.
where the poor lawyer lost his life, or we could meet at the Hotel which was your episode.
Yeah.
There's
Oh, that one.
We can go have a drink in the creepy Savoy Hotel bar and
Man.
check that out. We can see where the Swope murder, which is still our most downloaded episode, where Swope used to work, that the building where he worked thing. We could go, of course, our baseball episode where the nut, lady shot her husband. That building's gone, but there's a building there, but we can show you where that was. There's a lot of cool things. I mean, those are the nexus of
And,
stuff. I mean, we have other ones too, but there's a bunch downtown. So
and we can, and by the way, even if it's not a stop on the walk, we may stop on a corner and just talk about La Pistolera, or we may stop and talk about
the bridge
um,
murder.
the bridge murder. I mean, there's just so many things we can talk about. We're having such a great time. And again, understand, folks, we're talking about people's lives here. That's why we typically try not to talk about anything that happened in the past 35 or 40 years. The one we did last month was pretty close with the 6 firefighters who were murdered in an explosion. But as the brother of a firefighter, and uncle of several first responders, I just felt like it was important that their story continue to be told. We have another comment here. That would be great, a walking tour. We said that. That was Pam. And now, with
With enough
enough
notice. All
notice,
right.
she'll come see it. All right. And then Alicia said, I'd love a walking
There
tour.
you go.
Well, you know what? If you have too many of these, you'll be the walking dead. But don't worry, we'll make sure you get safely home. It would be fun to do. It would be, I would say, be about 90 minutes. We could walk to the things that we could walk to, and like I said, we take some breaks and maybe
Oh, there's a bar a
uh,
lot of the way. We can have some bars. So,
and stop and have a drink.
yeah.
Maybe there's what's nearby is one of our sponsors. Haven't had yet. We're gonna get them all. Has a lovely little area that you and I usually go to at
We
Christmas. Are
do.
we working on
Yep.
them or no?
I sent them something. They didn't respond.
Well,
So,
shame on them. We'll get our posse after them.
that's right.
The killingcitypod.com is the website. If you want to talk to us or at us or whatever, or you have a suggestion for what would be a great episode, that would be killingcitypod@gmail.com.
Yeah, so this was a lot of fun. I hope everybody has a great holiday. Alex, you knocked it out of the park with this drink. This was perfect for
Oh,
a Christmas episode. And
and dude, you had me at 100 years ago. This is my era. You knew I would be like just on the edge of my seat, and you did not disappoint.
I wish I could go back in time and watch him throw himself out of the window head first and then just do like a barrel roll apparently and just run off in the night. And then he just and it's like, and I'm just thinking too, it's like 1921 or 1921 that happened. And it's like, can you imagine knocking on somebody's door at 3:00 in the morning out in the middle of nowhere? Like, now you'd be like, they're going to shoot you. Like the fact that they're
Yeah,
like, yeah, okay, some random guy and probably in some kind of prison garb. Let's make him a
right.
sandwich. Let's just help this guy out. Like, it's just such a different world. Like now everybody
It-
be like,
it-
lock the doors and call the police. So,
Call the police, right?
or
Well,
not. Well, usually Missouri, they'd be like, but anyway, it's
well,
just
we
a
don't know.
different. It's a different era. It's a crazy different era. But anyway, all right.
Well, we'll be back next month around the 15th of January,
Yep.
2025 of all things. And it will be, we'll have the hint is hearing aid, and the show is going to Killing City. And look, this is going to be we've done a full year. This is going to be our going right into our second full year next
Yep.
year. And we look forward to sharing lots of stories and killer cocktails with y'all. And just remember one thing: no matter what we say or what we do, we love Kansas City. That's one
We do
reason we're
love
doing
Kansas City. That's why these are good stories. So, all right. Until next time. Cheers, everybody.
it. Be good, for goodness sake.
Are we off? Or are we still there? No, we're
Wait, I
still
don't know
live.
if we're still. Okay, now it's okay. No, we're not. We're no longer live. Okay, it might be recording, but we're not live. I don't know. I'll send you the recording.
Oh, good.
Um,
What'd you think?